Hey guys, how's it going? It's 8-Bit Eric. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we are going to review this bad boy, the Xbox Series X. So I've had a few days to really sit down and sink the teeth into this bad boy. Mostly playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but I also took the opportunity to play a few other games that were in the backwards compatibility list for this console. So the weeks leading up to the Series X, I was hyped. I was getting more and more hype. Every time I read an article, every time I talked about it, every time I saw any kind of announcement, I was like, heck yes. So finally getting to set up this bad boy and play with it was such a treat. It felt like Christmas finally came. Christmas in November. Christmas came early this year. So the first things first, people want to know, does the Xbox overheat and is it loud? I can tell you straight up, it's quiet. It is rather quiet. This thing is not loud at all compared to how loud I used to hear the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. They used to sound like they were jets, like, and it would just be so loud and like a buzzing noise. No, I gotta tell you guys, this is quiet. Don't let this big fan on top steer you to think that it will sound like it's about to blast off to Mars, because I gotta say, I've been playing this since Tuesday. It's now Friday, so 4 days later, this baby is quiet as a mouse. I will say, as far as heat goes, it's not that bad. It's not as hot as the reports were saying, where you can't even touch it because it's hot. But I will say you can feel heat coming out of the top, but in a good way. That actually means it's doing its job. It's ventilating the air properly. Air is coming out and it's allowing the inside to stay cool. That is a good thing. In addition to the top thing, there's also two fans in the back. This is where people are putting the vape at when they're vaping their smoke and it's coming out. But I will say, this thing gets a little toasty. Not hot, but you can feel it. When I had this down, I had this down on the ground next to me, like a computer tower, like how I have my PC underneath. I'm not joking. About this high up, I could still feel the heat coming out of the console, like vapor, like heat coming up about this high. So what I was doing when I was sitting down in my chair is I was actually crossing my legs and having one foot at a time hover over this to keep it warm. I was joking, saying not only does it play games in 4K, it's also a foot warmer. So I will say it's a little warm, but it's not toasty. And it's quiet. Other than that, the design, okay, it leaves a little bit left to be desired. I think they did the complete opposite as to what Sony did this console generation. You look at the PlayStation 5, it's big and it's curvy and it looks basically like a taco or some kind of weird thing from Mars. Xbox was like, screw it. We're just going to give you a big rectangle that looks like a refrigerator and it's just going to be black. Nothing else on it. No frills except the top. Okay, it's basic in its design, but don't let that fool you. I did have it standing up for the first 2 days, but there was just something about having it sideways, this is how I've been presenting it on my desk or on my shelf for the last 2 days. So 2 days on, I had it like this. 2 days this. I've heard a rumor throughout the years, real quick to touch on this, that if you have your consoles vertical, it's bad for the disk drive. That if you ever decide to put it sideways, it won't read properly. So I'm not going to risk that. I've never really kept my consoles vertical except the Wii. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it on its side and play it like that. I have no confirmation if that's true. Now, another thing that I observed about this console, if you look closely, you can see I have handprints here. This thing picks up fingerprints really easy. It's kind of frustrating, but then again, I am a greasy Mexican. Like RGT said, he's a greasy Italian. I'm a greasy Mexican. So when I touch stuff, it's going to be like that. Now, the actual Xbox size, it is pretty heavy. It's a heavy console. Like, I could barely hold it with one hand like that. So be careful. But yeah, this is it for the aesthetics. I really like what they did with it. There's little touches everywhere. There's even an Easter egg somewhere, I believe, on the stand. Yeah. Xbox Hello from Seattle on the bottom. It says Hello from Seattle over here on the base. Basic in its design, but don't let that fool you. This console has genuinely impressed me, and we're going to go up and a little bit more in depth on that. But before we get to that, let's talk about the controller. So one thing that I've been asked a lot is, what do I think of the new controller? Well, I'm going to say it's pretty much the same as the Xbox One X controller, just slight changes. You can see the D-pad was a little bit more changed. Let me grab my One X controller so you guys can see. And we will do a comparison time like Pixel Dan. So this is my original Xbox One controller, and you can see it's pretty sleek. It has kind of like a shiny feel to it. Pretty sexy. Basic black. Looking at the D-pad, you can see pretty standard. The D-pad on the Series X, it's a little bit different. It's more of a disc shaped. So you can see that. But the rest of the controller, for the most part, is the same, except it's not indented up here. It's more of like a flat surface. And they added a capture button right here in the middle. And this controller has like a, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like a certain texture to the handles that makes it feel a little bit more like of a grip, if that makes any sense. It's not just all the same around. So not half bad. It does use AA batteries, which I guess that's what Microsoft has always done with the Xbox. It does come with some, but you can use a little micro USB to plug it into the actual console and run it that way, wired. You could even use the same accessories like this. I got this from GameStop years ago. It's a rechargeable battery pack. Those also work. In addition to that, you can use your Xbox One controllers and sync them into the Series X. So all your Xbox One accessories work with that, and I like that. I think that makes it more accessible to people. You know, not everybody's going to go and shell out for the new Series X controller. If you have 2 or 3 of these at home already, you can pop them in and play very easily and enjoy it. So I do like that. Now, a couple complaints as far as the actual console goes is people are complaining about there not being enough changes with this next generation, that they feel the leap just wasn't enough. I gotta say, that is fair, but I also gotta disagree. I feel the biggest selling point for me right now in this upcoming next generation of gaming is accessibility and how many different ways you can enjoy games. As far as that goes, and I'm not trying to start a console war here or anything like that. This is just my opinion, my perspective on Microsoft as a whole. Game Pass is going to be clutch coming up this console generation. Solely for the fact that we're having rumblings of $70 games that are going to be on this console generation. High price games. And most of the major first-party Xbox games will be on Game Pass day one. So for a monthly fee, I have access to not just Xbox Game Studio games, major indie titles, old Xbox games like Rare Replay and Banjo and Double Dragon Neon and all those games that are on there. And EA Play has just been added onto there. So Battlefield, Battlefront, the Madden games, the FIFA games, Fight Night. There's a Dragon Age Inquisition. There's a variety of games available in Game Pass that you could instantly play and plop on. And I think that alone is a huge value. Now, people are saying, Eric, I want a next-gen console to play next-gen games. That's fair. The biggest argument right now is that there's not enough exclusives as far as Xbox goes compared to PlayStation. I get that. I really do. I genuinely do. But there's just something about playing backwards compatible games that means a lot to me, especially in this digital age, which is why I can appreciate that 4 generations of Xbox are compatible with the Series X. Now, granted, it's not 99% of the original Xbox games or 99% of the 360 games, but it's a pretty good amount. And on top of that, the Xbox One games work. So, honestly, for what you're getting, it's not a bad deal with the backwards compatibility. Just alone, I played 4 different games and tested, and some of these were ones I haven't played before. And I conveniently forgot them over here on this shelf. Let me show you what I played. So, when I was testing the backwards compatibility for the Xbox, the first game I did for the OG, which I didn't own an OG Xbox growing up. I didn't have one. I never did. I just recently started collecting for original Xbox, so I have a huge backlog of games, which, by the way, if you guys have any recommendations for backwards compatible games that work on the Series X, let me know. But this is the game I tested out. It's called Black. It's an action-packed game. Lots of guns. You play as an operative, kind of like a SWAT team member, and it was actually kind of fun. Looking at the graphics, they didn't look half bad. I was expecting them to look a little bit more blurry. I'm not exactly sure if this is an optimized for Series X game or not, but it is on the backwards compatible list. So I would say if there's one thing that I have to worry about or complain about as far as backwards compatibility goes, I wish Microsoft would be a little bit more vocal about which games have special optimizations, like brand new graphics and stuff like that. Like, I know Master Chief Collection is going to be optimized, but it would be nice to know if certain games have updates, higher resolutions, and stuff like that. I will say this game does have some pretty long cutscenes, but the loading times for the actual loading were very fast. Not a half bad game. I was like, okay, that's one of them. But I'm upset that I can't play certain OG Xbox games, which I wish the backwards compatibility was a little bit more. But moving on to the next one, I was like, all right, let's try a 360 game. And this is one that a lot of people, when I stream, say, okay, I want Eric to play this. I want him to try it out. Demon Souls is coming out. A Demon Souls remake is coming out for PS5. But I was like, you know what? Let's start with Dark Souls. So I put the 360 Dark Souls in. And I have to tell you, this baby loaded quick. The loading screen and everything like that were quick. Now, I'm not sure if this had an optimization. When I popped it in, I got a warning saying that the Xbox Series X needed an update to run this game. I didn't get that with Black. So that tells me this probably was optimized for the Series X. Looking at it, I didn't see much in way of screen tearing. I just recently discovered what screen tearing is, by the way, in one of my live streams. I'm not a real technical whiz guy. I like if a game is controllable, if it's fun, if it's entertaining, if it has a story, I'm all in. There was no frame rate dips at all on this. I can tell you that much on any of the backwards compatible games that I played. And it ran like butter. It looked smooth and it was great. It was my first time sinking the teeth into this. So that's why I was excited about the Series X. Now next, a tried and true, probably one of the greatest video games of all time. I have it on the Xbox One, The Witcher 3 Hunting Grounds. Now I heard this would be optimized for Series X. And it also made me download an update to play it on here. So I'm believing it is optimized already. Again, I can't find a list that shows which games will be optimized. So if you have one, let me know in the comments. Beautiful game. The loading times, immensely cut when playing it on the Series X. And that's what I was most interested about when it came to the Series X, was seeing just how much the loading times would be cut. And then, of course, the main game that I have been playing, which I will be doing a review of this, that will be coming out soon. On the Series X, I've been playing Valhalla. Assassin's Creed Valhalla. A lot of people, when I'm playing this, say they can't really tell much of a difference between the Xbox One generation and the Xbox Series X generation. I think it all really varies, not just on your TV, but what specs you have your your Xbox Series X on. Freudian slip. I think it's also the same with the PlayStation 5. It all varies on what performance mode you're having, what TV you're having, and what you're just playing it on. For me, there's a little bit noticeable of a difference. Maybe not as much as we want, but there's enough to where I'm like, all right, this looks good. Even running just at 1080p, because I don't have a 4K TV yet, I could tell that it looks good. There's little details, you know, better shading, better lighting. The ray tracing's on point. The characters, like their clothing doesn't look stupid, where their hair's kind of like, looks like they have like flat hair just flapping in the breeze. It almost looks like straw. No, none of that. I thought there was fine little details and in-depth graphic changes on Valhalla enough to where I was like, all right. Now, there are some games that I'm still curious to play. Like, I'm going to try Madden 21 when the Series X upgrade comes out. I don't know when that is. It might be already. Because I did experience that on Xbox One, and now I have it on Series X, so I can see the differences. So I will say, even though the first party lineup for the Series X isn't as strong as the PlayStation 5, and I'm sad that Halo Infinite got delayed, the fact that I could play 4 different great games from 4 generations was more than enough of a value for me, plus the Game Pass value on top of that. It just means a lot to me. The accessibility with controllers being able to be used across the last 2 console generations very easily. Again, I like the accessibility that the Xbox Series X offers, and to me, that's why I enjoyed it. Now, the price point is often brought up a lot when it comes to the Series X. Is this bad boy worth the $500 plus? Again, I gotta say, when you listen to a reviewer, when you have somebody make a video, when they're talking about games, when they're talking about consoles, don't take their complete word for it. Like Reading Rainbow used to say, find out for yourself. Find out what your gaming needs are. Do you need an upgrade to a console, whether it's an Xbox or a PlayStation 5 right now? For me, I wanted it. Got that, plain and simple. I was like, all right, I want to make the jump. I like the backwards compatibility. I like what they're doing with Game Pass. They sold me on the Xbox One. The Xbox One was my first Xbox system, and I enjoyed it. I thought they did a great job, and I felt that everything they did leading up to the Series X was showing that they were wanting to take consideration of gamers. I got a gaming laptop that has Game Pass Play Anywhere. I have access to Game Pass Play Anywhere on the phone. The whole concept of what Microsoft is doing with keeping the Xbox brand available throughout several devices, not just one console, warms me up. And I guess it's bringing me a little bit closer to PC action, I guess, because that's what computers have always been able to do. It seems like Xbox is delving into a bigger part of the picture. They're not just focused on sticking to console gamings. It's a bigger world out there in this digital age, and I feel that Xbox's game plan is solid enough for me to upgrade. But if you're not sold on it, if you feel that there's not enough yet on this next gen, $500 might not be a good price point for you, because let's be honest, you are right. The exclusives aren't there, and the jump in the graphics is still a work in progress right now. I would venture to say maybe in at least a year or two, when this next generation of consoles is at its prime, when we're seeing all the heavy hitters come out, the Halos, the Horizon Forbidden West, all these huge games that are coming up that we're waiting on, the next Final Fantasy game and all that, we're going to see some great and wonderful things from these consoles. Right now, it's going to take time, so it's still in its infinite stages. So if $500 is too much of a steep price for you, just stick with your Xbox One. It's going to be able to play the same exact games. You just won't have 4K. That's a big deal. You're not really missing out on much. But me, I'm a gaming channel. I like to cover stuff. I like to keep up with the trends. That was mostly why. If I wasn't doing YouTube, would have I upgraded? Probably not. I'll be completely honest with that. But I will say, the time that I've had with the Series X, I've not regretted the purchase. I've not had buyer's remorse. In fact, it's already made me more hyped and excited than before. So that's my take on the Series X, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully my first impression / early review of the Xbox Series X include you guys on a different perspective, or gave you guys some new information on it. Again, my biggest chief complaint is that the front just catches fingerprints like nothing. But guys, that's it for today's video. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a great day. Peace out.